Threadless Jewelry. What is it? Well, you might be able to find out. Coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 136. So you might want to stick around. For those who are new to the channel, welcome to the Body Piercing and Tattooing channel. Hope you're enjoying the videos, hoping you're finding them helpful, etc. But this might be your first one, so you may not know who I am. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. What we're going to talk about today is threadless jewelry, also known as push fit or press fit jewelry. This is going to be a new series where I'm going to kind of go through every type of jewelry, explain how it works, explain the parts, etc. Suggest proper tools to remove it that you may need at home, and also how to change that particular style of jewelry, or the best method to. Threadless jewelry was originally introduced into the body piercing industry by Neil Metal back in 1997. It is not a new concept, but it was the body piercing. They were the first to kind of go, hey, this is a good idea and this will work. It is an older concept and used in plumbing, electric connections, and various other things. The idea is that, and this is often called either a push fit, even in the industry, or press fit jewelry. It's an interference fit or a press fit. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know. Anyway, the idea behind it is you have two pieces of metal that you need to connect and create a joint. You want to do this in a way that's not going to damage either piece of material, and also you don't want to use traditional methods such as threading, which could wear out, or soldering, which could damage it, or welding, which could also damage it. So instead of that, you use good old-fashioned friction to hold them in place and together. Make sense? You make it harder for it to just simply fall out than it is to stay in. Threadless jewelry has two parts. The first part being the end or top. This is usually flat. It has a gem setting, or it has some type of setting or character setting of some sort or shape. Then on the back of it, it has a lead or a pin, usually 25 gauge, that is bendable. The other part is the post, or which in this case could be a combination of, well, basically four types. The first type being a barbell post. The second one being a labret or labret post, probably the most commonly used, especially with ear piercings and nostril piercings. The next being a curved barbell, and in rare occasions, I have seen people start to put out circular barbells. I don't know how well they work, though, because it's just kind of a weird concept. It has to do with keeping that friction with that curvature. It can be difficult, and I'll get into that in later videos. So what happens is you take this post, you hold it in one hand, you insert the lead, bend it slightly, and then press it all the way in. And what happens is that lead kind of springs in there and creates friction against the sides of the tube, which makes it easy to just pull apart, but it's gonna stay in there. So there's no threading, there's no finding it. Once you found that hole and you push it in, you're good to go. The advantages of this type of jewelry is it's universal. One of the biggest issues in the beginning of the body piercing industry was when a ton of new manufacturers started coming in, especially in the 90s, is everybody was using different types of threading. So you would have a situation where you would go out and get pierced with a barbell, and then a couple months would go by and you'd lose the end, and you'd go back and try to get a replacement end instead of buying a complete piece of jewelry. And it was kind of difficult unless you were actually going back to the same manufacturer, and oftentimes they switched it up to get a piece, an end that would actually thread in there because the threading had changed, or it's a different threading or a different type. For example, it might be externally threaded or internally threaded. It might be millimeter. It might be American or English standard. So it created a problem. Even though most of the better manufacturers have kind of gotten together and said, okay, this is going to be our standard for this gauge, and this gauge, and this gauge, there's still the issue that if you have a 16 gauge barbell and you want to put one you had on your 14 gauge barbell, it's not going to work because it's two different threading patterns in sizes and the thickness and etc. So one of the problems that Threadless Jewelry did was to kind of solve this problem because it became universal. You can use Threadless Jewelry ends in posts from 20 gauge all the way up to 14 gauge. I think there might be a couple manufacturers that sell 12 gauge, but personally, most of it's going to be between 20 and 14 gauge. Which means if you have a set of nipple piercings and you want to put that on your industrial piercing, but your nipples are at 14 and your industrial is at 16, they're interchangeable. The other advantage is you can go from one studio to another studio, and if they stock Threadless Jewelry and you just want to change the end or change the post because it needs to be downsized, all of this stuff is interchangeable. It's not a situation where you have to go to the place that stocks that brand of jewelry. You don't have to deal with that. The other big advantage to it is it adjusts easily. And this is really important with side-facing jewelry that is designed to sit like in a nipple piercing and point outward, like a gym setting. When you use threaded jewelry, oftentimes when you tighten it completely on, it turns cockeyed. So one will be facing this way and the other one will be facing this way, which doesn't look very good. With threadless jewelry, because it doesn't have to lock into that tightness, it's easy to adjust it so that both of them point in the same direction. Another advantage is limited damage and contact with the piercing when you change jewelry. This is a big problem of externally threaded jewelry and continues to be so. The problem is you have this rough threading, and when you remove the jewelry, that threading goes through the piercing, your soft tissue, and then when you put it back in, it once again grinds against that hard tissue. One final advantage is this isn't going to strip out. The worst case scenario is that the lead would break off if you put too much pressure on it. However, that isn't really that common. It does happen from time to time, especially if you continue to completely rebend it or bend it incorrectly in the first place. Well, that covers the first video on threadless jewelry. Look for new ones in the future. We're going to cover toolbox, tools you can have that'll make it easier to change it. Actually changing the jewelry, including nostril piercings, which is a really common and kind of difficult thing to do sometimes. We're also going to talk about where they work best and where they don't work best in the future. If you like this video, found it helpful, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of them, subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post something. And if you have threadless jewelry or have experience with it and threadless jewelry, leave a comment. Let me know what your experiences have been like with that difference in jewelry style and etc. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care. Check out one of these other videos. They can be helpful, too.